Good evening. I am Gabriela Rez, and welcome to Ballot Box, here on WINTV. The youth are considered the future of our country. We are not seeing the youth getting actively involved in the politics. Our current crop of political leaders are all over 50, and their possible replacement close to the same age. The type of politics practiced by our current leaders has not had the effect of bringing in the youth in larger numbers. It seems to be the same old political style of politics, recycled and repackaged with lots of rebranding, but nothing substantially different from the past. Tonight's show will feature two bright, young and upcoming politicians who have the passion and drive to make a difference. They feel the need for change, and they are striving for a better Trinidad and Tobago. With us in the studio is Ms. Vermala Balkaran, former leader of the youth arm of the ILP, and Mr. Rudolph Hanamji of the COP, although currently on suspension from the party. In tonight's show, Ms. Balkaran and Mr. Hanamji will be discussing issues that affect youth both in politics and in the nation, as always. And as always, Ballot Box always allows viewers to be heard every week. During our call-in segment, please call us and join the discussion. Your number to call is 665-6278. You can also leave us a message on Facebook. Just search Ballot Box TT. Or you can tweet us using the hashtag BallotBoxTT. Or send us an email with your thoughts and suggestions at ballotboxtt@gmail.com. When we return from the break, we are going to get right into our discussion. Stay tuned.
Win Caribbean and Win Radio 101.1 FM are now on the Rogers Cable Network in Canada. Just weeks after Win Caribbean launched on the Bell 5 network, we can now be seen by 2.25 million customers on the Rogers Cable system in Canada. Tell your friends and relatives that they can see all the latest news, sports, current affairs, and entertainment shows direct from Trinidad with just a flick of a switch, as well as party to the powerful 101 lineup of DJs. Win Caribbean can be seen on channel 672, and you can hear 101.1 FM live on channel 673 on the Rogers Cable System in Canada. Win Caribbean is now live in Canada. We're taking Trinidad and Tobago to the world. It's Win Electronics Christmas Sale. Get electronic items from $999 and up with cameras from Sony, Nikon, Olympus, and Samsung. Get tablets like the Skytex FP705 tablet and the 8GB Visual LAN Prestige Internet tablet. Win Electronics Christmas Sale, Price Plaza and Center City Mall, Chaguanas. Call 671-7878 or 671-5886.
Welcome back to Ballot Box. We have two young and upcoming political minds, Vermala Balkaran and Mr. Rudolph Hanamji. Welcome to Ballot Box.
Thank you.
Please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, Vermala.
Well, my name is Vermala Balkaran. I'm the former youth arm chairperson of the ILP.
Prior to that, I have been involved in politics in the background, doing youth work, charitable work, non-governmental work, law student, as well as a really strong advocate for the things that the youth of Trinidad and Tobago want to do but are not given the opportunity. So I believe tonight we're going to talk about all of that. So really excited. Great. And Rudy, can I call you Rudy?
So that's fine.
Thank
I know
you.
the last name is a bit of a challenge.
Well, yes, a little bit, yes.
So good night again to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Most people of recent times will know that I am a former national executive member of the Congress of the People. I represented the Northwest region, and I was also the sitting chairman of the Diego Martin West Constituency Council for my party. Before that, I was active in a lot of community work with the Kiwanis Club and other agencies where we tried to support, as Vimala said, mainly young persons, trying to get them on the right path. Professionally, I am a marketing management specialist, and I do enjoy any type of community development or nation building work.
So tell me something. What made you choose the ILP and the COP respectively? Listen? Yes, of course. As you know, I have resigned. However, as I stated in my resignation letter, it's plain and simple. At that time, when the ILP was created, I saw something in the ILP, which was a new style of politics. Very crisp and clean, new faces, bright new ideas, and an avenue for the youth. That horizon which the youth could have used to bring themselves out into the country and to make, as they said, the country greener. That was the reason which I was attracted to the ILP. I saw that opportunity to help with the youth, and as my resignation said, slowly that was no longer. Okay, we'll come to the resignation a little bit later in the show, but Rudy, what made you choose the COP? Because I heard Vermala talking about a new style of politics, and I know the COP branded themselves as a new style of politics. So what attracted you?
You know, it's deja vu for me as well. Like Vermala, when the COP first was originated by Winston Buchanan, the cry was for new politics and changing all of these paradigms, the getting rid of gatekeepers, and truly having that new, transparent, open type of governance, which as a child growing up, I had always heard my parents and grandparents complaining did not exist. We had always heard about the PNM and the UNC and other parties coming and going, but always remaining under a type of governance structure that kept young people especially out of politics.
So do you think the current political leaders of the main parties, the ILP, the PNM, the UNC and the COP, understand the needs of the youth in terms of governmental policies?
If I may, I think that they must understand needs of young people. They themselves were at one time young, and needs don't really change over time. I think, this is my opinion, that they don't give it the kind of credence that it deserves. They use it conveniently to attract persons like us, to support when they need us to, and then when our voices, when we try to project our voices and demand some of the promises be delivered, I think then all of a sudden our needs are supplanted by what is politically convenient at the time.
Vermala, I could shaking your head.
I could not have agreed with Rudolph. Rudolph, right?
Rudy.
I could not have agreed more. It was on our question on this. Is it male lip service? Is it just that? Is the idea of saying, going on our platform and saying, the youth is doing this, we are for the youth. Is it just something to beautify what they are doing, something to attract people? Because it sounds good. It always sounds good to say we are about the young people.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, are they really? And I think that's what Gabby is asking us.
Right, I noticed actually ILP campaign was really, it used a lot of social media, it attracted a lot of young people by the mechanisms that they used. And I realized it was really targeted towards the young people. So you're saying now that basically both parties have used the young people to probably advance themselves into an arena and then again wash themselves off of maybe the new politics until they get what they want?
I think to answer that question about the use of the social media and things to like subliminal messages and to appeal to the youth, that's something that we did not as a technique but personally being involved in the ILP it was not merely a technique, but it was actually genuinely to attract the youth, to bring them in, to be a part of it. So now that I am no longer there, it's unfair for me to say what's their future plans. But while I was there, I can tell you what I did genuinely to involve the youth of Trinidad.
So I'm going to ask you both a brutal question. Do you both think that you all were used, or do you feel used by your political party?
I do believe that there were times where I was used. Not all the time, because there were times, at least I can speak for this Congress of the People, where young persons were given an opportunity to have some sort of input. For example, I worked on our presentation in the national budget. I have served in a number of committees with the party. I actually was the youngest person to sit on the COP's panel to help nominate a president for Trinidad and Tobago. So I won't be unfair to say that I haven't had an opportunity, but in more recent times, as Vermala was intimating, I saw a lot of lip service being paid to youth, and I had to take my hat off to Vermala and her teammates, because what the ILP was able to do in terms of attracting the youth, the COP has been failing to do that for the last 2 years. As a matter of fact, on our Facebook page, there's basically one person that posts from the party, and our youth arm has not been functioning, which has been one of my pet peeves for a long time as a young member.
Who is in charge of the youth arm, if you don't mind me asking, of the COP?
Well, the substantive chairman is Kiran Samaru.
Okay.
But there has been talk that other persons have supplanted him and taken over the Congress.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's not functioning.
That's always a problem too. You have undermining, you have people creating an environment that is not conducive for the leader, him or herself, to actually function and to do what they set out to do. You always have this drive for power, people trying to pull you down, and that's something that needs serious attention by as you said, the leaders, the political leaders of these parties. You have somebody there taking care of the youth arm. You need to ensure that at least the environment created in the party is conducive for that person to take the youth arm forward. You can't have that person working 10 steps forward and then somebody putting them back at least 15 steps backwards. That makes no sense.
Okay, so, alright. So, you're saying now that you both feel that, yes, you had the opportunity to represent yourself in the party. However, somewhere along the line, the parties got lost in the message, or they were ignored. Vermala, in one of your resignation letters, I read that there were individuals that the party had allowed to be on the executive level. Am I wrong with that statement?
Continue.
All right. Could you care to clarify that to our viewers? What did you mean by that? Or I'm not sure if you're willing to call a name.
Okay.
But could you care to?
I think you spoke about the recycled politicians.
Correct.
That's what you're speaking of?
Yes, of course.
Okay. As the youth chairperson, what I was given the opportunity to do was to be able to listen to the views of the young people, and that was the most important role by far, I think. The young people have time after time echoed to me that we are seeing these recycled politicians. Now, the context of which I used that statement was that was the view being echoed by the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, and I was echoing that view, of course, and I didn't think that it was paid enough attention to. That's what I meant by that. It was the views of the people of the youth of Trinidad and Tobago.
But do you think we need these recycled, quote-unquote, politicians? Like, example, they will have the expertise or the knowledge or the experience to guide us through. I mean,
when you are putting out there that you are a new type of politics and that you're condemning all the older people and things like that, you at least need to show that you yourself have the young people, the new faces out there, and not the old ones that you are yourself condemning.
But would you guys bring that back to you now? I know you've been calling for the resignation of the political leader of your party
And the national
executive.
I myself was about to resign.
I read that as well. Tell us what happened there.
Well, basically, over the last 2 years, as a national executive member, internally I had been vocalizing a number of issues that I had been seeing wrong with my party and in terms of the national government of the day. More recent issues, of course, for example, Chaguanas West, the local government elections, in terms of how the campaigns were run, etc. Our party, for example, in our charter, it specifically states that during any election, no government, no party that is in power must distribute any state patrimony during that time, so as to give the perception that you're trying to influence an election. The COP went along with that. wholeheartedly while the UNC was campaigning, etc. So what is more in the public domain right now is actually a protracted battle that I have been having. Because I just want to take a step back and explain to the viewers. I was also the youngest campaign manager for the COP in the 2010 elections for local government, where we actually won PNM seats. Kokori, Pity Valley was my seat that we won. And using that as my political experience, I was able to demonstrate that you can actually use new politics to influence voting patterns. But in the last year or so, the party has started to depend more on welfare programs like CPEP, URP, etc. And the leadership of the party was not willing to detach itself enough from the United National Congress and distinguish my party. So as a young person, as Vimala was saying, who had been attracted to a party based on the rhetoric, based on the fact that new ideas and new ways of doing things would have been allowed, I had to stand my ground and fight against that. And that is what has led to this battle right now.
So, you know, the whole country has basically criticized the politics and campaigning as being as on a level of gutter, being, you know, to that level. And I know you said it in your letter, and Rudy, you've been actually saying that the COP should actually distance themselves from some of this campaigning. Well, do you think that your party has actually contributed or added to this gutter politics in terms of what we saw on the stage and the campaigning that took place?
One thing that I had in my letter, again, we keep going back to that letter, there were times when I saw, as a youth officer, I'm sitting and observing from the crowd, and then you have a young person on a stage, and there they're going, talking about all these, sometimes catalogical images to compare that to political parties. And to me, that was flabbergasting. That's something that we try to get away from. We can't have our young people going there. Why can't we mold them? Why can't we let them know? Say, let's bridge them before they hit a platform. Say, this is what you need to do. You can't talk about these kind of things. But here, feel free to talk about things, substantial things. Don't go up there and put yourself down once more to the recycled politicians that we're talking about again. We are trying to get away from that. We cannot be hypocrites in politics. We cannot be, that's the thing. Hypocrisy and politics will probably go hand in hand at points in time. Rudolph, what do you think about that?
No, well, I am in total agreement. For example, my political leader spent most of his time on the local government campaign chanting, "Watch your back with Jack." Today I'm saying, "Watch your back with Prack." But the point is that it is a really infuriating level of hypocrisy, because each of the major parties wants to castigate the other. But what the public is really seeing is that they're all of the same ilk. And a person like myself who went into this to change that, I could not stand up there and just accept that and be encouraged by others to use my campaigning impetus to bash other parties. I want to talk about issues. I want to talk about policies. I don't want to talk about who's, you know, interested in ghosts and those kinds of things.
But one thing, may I ask him?
No, of course.
You raised the point about issues and policies, but I was having this conversation with a friend last week. We have always been fighting, yourself and me, we have always been fighting for the right of the youth, the policies and having the youth voice and everything. But it boils down to this: do the youth really want that? Sometimes you find yourself out there as a one-man party, a one-man team going out there, hey, come do this, hey, let's do that. And people are turning their backs on you. But again, it brings us back to what are we actually doing to appeal to them, now that it's a bit late.
It's like a chicken and an egg situation.
Yes, it's a bit late. So we are fighting for them, but more needs to be done, and we can't do that just as young people, single-handedly. We need our leaders behind us.
But we're going to have to take a break right now because I'm enjoying the discussion a lot. We'd like to invite our viewers to call in at 665-6278 when we come back. So stay tuned to your screen. We're going to be right back.
is in the air, and we at WIN Communications would like to pamper our kids this Christmas. Put a smile on their faces, make them happy, treat them special all year round, and give them the love they deserve. We are asking for you to donate toys and canned foods and be a part of our kids' toy drive dedicated especially for our little treasures this Christmas. Drop off your toys and canned foods at WIN Communications office, corner Henry and Benito Streets, Lunchbox, Iguanas. Call 672-6429 for further information. Merry Christmas from us at WIN Communications.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Tune in at 9 p.m. every Friday for an all-new Bollywood countdown. Don't miss Win Money every Thursday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to Ballot Box. In studio, we have two young, vibrant political youth here, Ramala Balkaran, ex-ILP, and Mr. Rudolph Hanamji, expelled member or suspended member, sorry, of the COP. Viewers, at this point in time, we'd like you to call in 665-6278. You can call in with any questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, let's go back into some more questions. Do you think the youth arms of any of these major parties are underused and can do more, such as help create policy and recruit members rather than just be token support for their party's political machinery? Ramala.
Definitely, I think the human capital in these youth arms are definitely underused. That's one thing. You realize that in the older political parties, of course, and that goes without saying, it's not just one. It's at all the parties. They have become a little complacent, I would say, where it's that you take a hamper, you go to a home, you take a gazillion pictures, you put it up online, and that's youth arm work. Youth arm goes way beyond that. Youth arm is actually utilizing the youth capital of the country, and let's say creating policies. There was this program that I created, conceptualized, and carried out. It was called the Green to Go Fitness. It was something where it was health policy, basically. Contributing to the party's manifesto was something that would have gone forward when the party would have entered into government. It was where youth would get together, they would eat healthy, they would have trainers training them, they would get together these 3 times a week, work out. It was a healthy initiative that you would take all together. It started off in one area, and then it was about to be built and spread all over Trinidad and Tobago. And it's things like that you need your youth arms to be doing. Conceptualize their own things, put it together, carry it out, take it to your leaders. This is what I want to do, and then build it and go forward with it. Now, if that can act as an example, then I believe that all the other youth arms have that potential as well.
Can you tell us a bit about what happened in the COP as well?
Well, when I first joined, there was a large youth arm, and when we were not being asked to be hospitality staff, we would, as Ramala said, focus on a number of community-based type projects. But we also, as a youth arm, were never really encouraged or engaged to develop nationalist policies. Especially in the last recent years, because again, a lot of the young persons became disenchanted with the party because the party didn't speak their language anymore. I want to raise another issue that sort of hindered that development. As a young advocate, I used to ask, why don't we work with other political party youth arms?
That's my next question, actually.
No, because as young people, this generation and younger, we don't have some of the divisions that older generations were brought up with. I mean, I'm sure Ramala can attest, we don't have ethnic issues, we don't have divisions across culture and religions as much as it used to be before. I wanted to work, and others wanted to work with PNM, we wanted to work with the UNC. We would actually get responses from the UNC Youth Arm, which is very surprising, that they don't want to work too closely with us because they want to remain separate. And again, this is where you see young people embodying old paradigms. And those kinds of things should not, young people shouldn't allow those things to poison their psyche.
Because we are working for Trinidad and Tobago. We do have a call on the line. Let me take this call. Good evening. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Gabriella.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for calling Ballot Box.
First time I'm looking at your program because I see you have youth and that is something that we're very interested in.
Thank you.
I know Rudy quite well and I know that Rudy has immense capability to take something and run with it and make it work very well, and I commend him for that. Vermala, I don't know much about her. I know the little story and whatnot, but Rudy made a very interesting point, which is what I was going to call in and talk about tonight. Why can't we get the UNCU, the PNMU, the COPU, the ILPU, and other groups together? Because together there's strength in numbers. One of the problems that you have in political parties, I've been heavily involved in one political party. I have done a little stuff with the Youth Congress, although I'm not a youth, but I try to help wherever I could. And it's always just a small group of people at the end of the day, 4 or 5 people doing everything, including making decisions and what to be done. So that is a brilliant idea, Rudy, and I think that maybe you'll need to look at that and work with that. You know how we have all our banking systems where we call it links? You could go to one ATM or whatever. That was a brilliant idea, and you will need to look at something like that, something called Youth Link or something like that. Work with it, because CNN people have brilliant ideas, UNC people have brilliant ideas, all of you have ideas, and I would really love to see something like that. Because the youth of this day, they are very, very disenchanted with the politics, and they are our future leaders. So thank you very much. Good luck. All the best to Rudy and Vermala and Gabriella.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Fight in the fight.
Thank you so much for calling in. We have another call on the line. Good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. This is Ballot Box.
Welcome to Ballot Box.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm calling from Shigwana area. I was just watching the program, and this question goes out to Ms. Vermala. Background, yeah? The ex-U ILP.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You were talking about Jack Warner about character a moment ago, and we need to take a page out of his book. I'm a bit confused about that. Help me understand.
You want me to explain what I meant?
Yes, please.
Okay. The ability of the fact that one man can take so many people and put them all together and form a political party out of something that was merely Chaguanas West alone. He used that as a catalyst, and he formed an entire political party based on these views that he had. That's something that you need to look at and say, hey, if somebody has that power to sway the people of Trinidad and Tobago to come together to do something that he proposed at that point in time, then that's something you can admire. His good character, working alongside Mr. Warner, I must say, with all due respect to Mr. Warner, he has always had the best interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago at heart. And as I also said in my letter, I don't know if you had a moment to catch a piece of my letter, I said that the people that he surrounded himself with, he needed to look into that. Not necessarily the people that are already there, but the people that will come in the future. Because he has a vision. But just because he has that vision, it does not mean that the people coming in going to have that vision as well. That clears it up?
Thank you very much, caller. We have another call on the line. Call keeps flowing, Good evening.
Good evening to the panel and to the host.
Thank you, good evening.
One question I'd like to find out. The PLM has a group called the Heliconia Foundation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are aware of it, and if they were invited to that forum that you have there. One outstanding one is Avinash Singh, the former candidate for Chaguanas West with Mr. Warner. The other point I would like to ask Ms. Balkaran is, I heard you say that you were very disappointed in the way the ILP handled the matter with Mr. Mohammed. And my point is, were you satisfied or are you happy with what transpired with Mr. Mohammed? My own opinion is that the constituency went to the polls knowing who the aldermen were. If Mr. Mohammed found that he was not satisfied with it, why didn't he withdraw from the race prior to the election? But he went up, he got the votes, and then he did what he had to do. I don't know what your take is.
I think that information is a bit not a little bit distorted, because I think it's only after Mr. Faik Mohammed was elected then there was some, disruption.
But allow me to just touch on what you
Correct.
said,
Yeah.
This is something, I think, Rudy, you can probably understand what I'm about to say. Regardless of what somebody does, I'm not, what I basically said was the way it was dealt with. The allegations were merely allegations at that time because of bribes and all of that.
Right.
We are not saying that we agree with what Faik did, we disagree or anything like that. All I'm saying is the views of the youth of Trinidad and Tobago that will echo to me afterwards was that the way they dealt with the matter, surrounding his house with loudspeakers and sending people to harass him and things like that, I was not okay with that. And that scared me. That scared me as a youth of Trinidad and Tobago, and that scared me for the rest of youth of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, well, we're going to take the calls, and then we could probably answer all the questions after, because the calls keep coming in. Caller, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, my dear.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good afternoon to the panel too. First time I'm calling in on this program.
Well, welcome to Ballot Box.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to respond to the guild, the ILP guild, that
No longer.
I want
my
to say,
ILP.
Jack Warner is watching. Good evening to you, Mr. Jack Warner. And I am one of your strong supporters from Cuba North. And I saw Jack Warner and Pandy was on TV the other night. And I was trying to call him, but I couldn't get through because the line was so busy. So what I want to tell Mr. Jack Warner, send a message to him that Cuba North belongs to the Pandys. And I would like Mr. Jack Warner to appoint Makila Pandey for the next general election for Cuba North. Thank you very much and have a blessed night.
Thank you for your comment. Well, I guess he said he's going back to the ILP.
No, Gabriela.
I think we have another call on the line, yes? Sorry about that. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening to you, Pandy. Good night, ma'am.
Good evening. Hi, welcome to Ballot Box.
Yes, thank you. Here it is that we have youths have been given an opportunity to represent a particular party, whether it be UNC, COP or ILP. And here we have now, these have been given an opportunity to bring a new era of politics. Now, with the Faik Mohammed issue, he being a young man, and with this young lady who had resigned from the ILP, why now that after you've been given an opportunity to bring a new politics, now here you are sitting on television tonight, and before you have gained some level of foundational experiences, you are destroying whatever affiliation you had with your party. I don't think that is, to me, is honest. I don't think that is true. I think you are setting a bad example because Faik Mohammed, being a young man, and here it is now, he is switching and he become locally involved, or I would say, Trinidad and Tobago politics. And before they will sit and get experience, I'm not saying that they may not have been the old heads, not set an example. But as you all have been given an opportunity now to enter new politics, and before you start the race, you all have end not drop out. That is not good to me. I think you should sit, learn, take the good from the bad, and start it off fresh.
Thank you very much for your comment, caller. Okay, we don't have any more calls on the line, but let us start at, we have more calls on the line. Okay, let's take the call. Sorry about that. Welcome, caller. Good evening. Welcome to Ballot Box.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm calling from St. Joseph. I have two or three questions for Firmala. She was talking about the way that Pike was treated and how it scared her. But did it not scare her when Jack Warner stood on that platform and she sat next to him and he denigrated the youths of the other parties, denigrated the children of other ministers? Why did she suddenly got a conscience when Pike had a problem? Why didn't she speak out when the children of ministers were being denigrated, who weren't even involved in the political process?
Thank you very much for your comment, caller. I hope we have any other calls on the line? Okay, we don't have any more calls on the line, so let's start dealing with some issues now. First of all, let me make one point clear to our viewers. We invite all political parties on our show every week. We invite the PNM, we invite the UNC. We also invited the UNC tonight. There was a little hiccup. However, the person who was supposed to appear, that I really liked for him to appear, He was not given the go-ahead to appear on the show, and I think he would have been a very positive youth, especially for this program as well. So I'll make it very clear, we are a very fair program, and we extend our invitation to all. We even at some point in time have candidates coming on, sorry, not candidates, members of parties coming on, and at the very last moment, they pull out, right? So I must commend you too for actually sticking to the program, to our show and the commitment that you gave, and that is a wonderful sign. So let's get into the points that some of the viewers raised.
The very last caller said that I sat alongside him while he was while he talked about the rest of youth and everything like that. If again you knew what my letter contained, it said a number of things have been transpiring, and just as Gabby reiterated a little while ago, where I talked about how can you go on a platform and say these things, all of those things led up to my resignation. It's simple, plain and simple. Everything was a build-up, and the fight incident acted as a trigger to scare me, to say, hey, I don't think that that's what you should be doing to any young person, tarnishing their reputation regardless of the allegation. So as I said before, it was not because
it was not a rash decision.
I
it was
didn't
something
sit
that
there and allow things to just build up, and I spoke along the way. I did speak along the way.
So tell me something. Are you saying that your leaders do not listen to your voices?
Which brings me to the other caller.
Okay.
And I was going to pass this on to Rudy as well, because I believe that Rudy has some notes, and I was looking at his notes. We are thankful for that opportunity, the opportunity to have been able to serve. But just because we were given that opportunity, it does not mean that things that are just put our way, that we must be able to sit quietly and take those things. We're not saying that we were probably ill-treated and beaten or anything like that, but when you don't agree with things you are not listening to, you have to decide, this is not what's best for me and the youth of Trinidad and Tobago. And at that point, I don't know, I think, Rudy, we did not put ourselves first. We put the youth and what we can do for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago.
No, I completely agree, and the issues raised by Vermala answer the gentleman's question about whether we're destroying our opportunities, or however he phrased it.
That was the caller before.
Yes,
right,
yes.
okay.
You know, I want to make it categorically clear that, as I said earlier, and Vermala, I mean, it's almost like we're speaking the same language. These decisions that we came to were not decisions that were taken because of one activity. There was a lead up of different things that added and built up that made us wake up one night, we couldn't sleep probably, and you had to make a conscience call. As a young person who has gone out there and told other young people, listen, this is where you should be, this is what you should be doing, whether it's any party, you have a responsibility when you find yourself at a crossroad to make a stand. And there are times when you cannot fight that principled position within a closed room. You need to take that fight on the outside. And to be quite frank, and I say this with all humility, I am very disappointed, especially when it pertains to young persons, when political parties either suspend, expel, or accept resignations so easily. Because a political party should recognize what its members are trying to say.
But it is a vote.
And
it's a vote, yeah.
Well, I'm not even going there yet.
Yeah.
But you're right. And we were supposed to be those in training to take over. But when it is not palatable to the leadership, that is when they start tuning out. Once, in my experience, once you are speaking that which is comfortable for them and that which they can utilize, that's fine. Then you're a star. When you start standing up on principle, you're all of a sudden shut out. And Vermala said she didn't get licks in her party. Last Sunday,
Maybe she didn't stay long enough for it.
I actually was physically shoved by members of my party for standing up on principle.
Well, we're going to take a call and a break, and then I want to come back to that, Rudy, exactly what happened. There's a caller on the line. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to Ballot Box.
Now, I've been listening to the program, and what I'm questioning is that the guests tonight, you know, they're talking a lot about youth and making change and standing up. But what we have to be careful as a youth as well is being as critical and as being as negative as the leaders that we are now condemning. Because I've listened to Rudy speak before, and while he is very eloquent and he tends to stand up in certain instances, he may be as guilty as the leader he is now condemning. And one of the questions that I would have to ask as a youth is that where were we all? Even myself may be guilty of this. Where were we all when they were condemning Fike? Why are we now here on air? Why are we now standing up and saying X, Y, Z when all the negativity was spilling around? And I think we are all guilty, and it will be out of humility that we now should come out and say what we have to say and admit that we are wrong and stop being as critical as those we are condemning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. At this point in time, we're going to take a break, but we do invite our viewers to call in at 665-6278. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to take some more calls, and we're going to get right back into Rudy and what happened last Sunday at the COP National Executive Meeting.
Join me on a whole new season of Earth Alert. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be rock climbing, hiking, rappelling, waterfalls, kayaking, all sorts of wonderful, crazy adventures all over Trinidad and Tobago. And I promise you, even more stuff. So, join me. It's just going to be fun.
It's Win Electronics Christmas Sale. Get electronic items from $999 and up with cameras from Sony, Nikon, Olympus, and Samsung. Get tablets like the Skytex FP705 tablet and the 8GB Visual LAN Prestige Internet tablet. Win Electronics Christmas Sale. Price Plaza and Center City Mall, Chaguanas. Call 671-7878 or 671-5886.
Christmas is in the air, and we at WIN Communications would like to pamper our kids this Christmas. Put a smile on their faces, make them happy, treat them special all year round, and give them the love they deserve. We are asking for you to donate toys and canned foods and be a part of our kids' toy drive dedicated especially for our little treasures this Christmas. Shop off your toys and canned foods at WIN Communications office on Henry and Benito Street, Lantark, Chaguanas. Call 672-6429 for further information. Merry Christmas from us at WIN Communications.
Thank you for staying with us. We have been talking to Vermala Balkaran and Rudolph Hanamji. Call us at this time. We invite you again to call in at 665-6278. Rudy, let's get back into a statement you made before we went to break. You said you were shoved at the CUP National Exec meeting, and also you're going to touch on constructive criticism versus criticism.
Well, you know, Gabrielle, my motion, entitled the Resurrection Motion, was actually tabled in July of this year. And out of respect for my leader at the time, who was out of the country due to the rules of natural justice, I withheld the motion at that meeting. And then the local government elections came up, and we said, okay, we'll put it off in the interest, again, of both party and country. We didn't want either one to be too distracted. And we said, okay, this is an opportunity for the leadership to demonstrate that they would take the party on the right track and by extension help the country. During the campaign, I became even more vocal and vociferous against some of the things I intimated earlier. For example, the implicit encouragement of the distribution of state funds and resources to influence voting, the bacchanalia on the campaign trail,
yes.
the fact that decisions were being taken without returning to the membership. Another issue, the Prime Minister honestly told the nation that UNC candidates would share some of the COP constituencies and under the local government. Our chairman said the opposite. These were issues that if I had stayed silent, the other side of the sword would have been swung at me, which is you stayed there and said nothing.
Okay.
So I needed to be more vocal.
So what happened on Sunday now for the national? I know that was a big build-up. I saw you rallying people to come in and voice their
everyone was
opinions.
waiting. A lot of people on both sides were waiting for that national council because so many things had happened.
Right.
And when we got there on the morning, before we even began the session after the prayer, the chairman reads the Riot Act and uses the standing orders to limit the number of persons that would speak on those motions. Other delegates made the point that these were motions that were critical to the survival of the party. Why would you shut people out and up? Why wouldn't you normally we let anyone who comes to the meeting have a voice?
So there was nothing withdrawn, none of the motions were withdrawn from the party?
Well, I'm getting to that part.
Okay.
After they limited the number of speakers, the chairman then advised that all the losing candidates in the local government elections were actually delegates on that day. Now, in our constitution, it says that losing candidates can form members of what we call our local government caucus. However, that local government caucus has not been convened in the last 6 months. So that action, that decision was ultra-violates to our constitution. So as a young person standing for integrity and standing for what is right, if I had placed my motion in that forum that was not duly constituted and that I saw was being against our party's constitution, Gabriella, I would have been party to an injustice. And I told them that on that day. I said, from what I have witnessed this morning, the manipulation of our rules to protect the leader and the national executive, I will not go forward with my motion because I will not be party to a farce. And further to it, even though I had told the nation I would have resigned from the executive, I told the National Council there, long before they decided to suspend me, that I would be resigning from the party.
So what happened on the Sunday? Were you physically attacked?
After all of that transpired and I was about to leave, the St. Augustine constituency tabled their own motion, which was the motion to suspend myself, Kishore Ramada and Satu and Ram Sharan.
With a letter that said that you all had supplied the PNM?
They raised the motion, and then one of the speakers came to the podium, and in support of the motion, he read this defamatory letter, which I want to categorically state now for the record, I did not write. But somebody fraudulently took my signature and put it on that letter.
So another question, and I mean, Vermala being a law student, were you given this information prior to the meeting on Sunday?
No, and I think Vermala will hear me out. That is against natural justice.
Right, yeah.
An allegation of such serious import was made against us, and we were never shared this information.
Up to this moment, did you get a chance to have the evidence given to you?
No. When I was leaving on the speaker outside of the main hall, I heard the letter being read. And I ran straight back into the meeting, and I did scream at the chairman and say, this is ridiculous, chairman, you cannot allow this. I was very emotional because I saw that it was fraudulent, it was injustice.
Yes.
And her response to me was, under standing orders, I now move to have you ejected from the meeting. And when I stood and said, this is completely wrong, and I started calling persons to support and say, are you all going to sit there and stand for this? An elderly member of the party actually approached me and shoved me physically to the point where another member had to intervene and hold him back. And that is when I made my mind up finally. I said, this is ridiculous. As a young person, I don't want to stand here and deal with this.
How did you feel about, at that point in time, about the country, about what you stand for, about the people that you've worked with for the last 7 years? How did you feel about that?
I felt hurt. I'm talking about it right now and I have to take a breath because you feel totally betrayed on so many levels. You feel cast aside, you feel views as we were speaking about earlier, and you really feel as though people are so interested in protecting their own interests.
When I have to take a call on the line, but you let us know what your mother had to say about what happened on Sunday. Caller on the line, welcome to Ballot Box.
Thank you very much.
You're live, go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Ballot Box. You're live.
Hello?
Hi, yes? Okay, I think we lost that caller. Abby, I think we have another call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to Ballot Box. Okay, I think we lost that call as well. So please be reminded to turn down your television when you're on because you get feedback and it really disrupts the level of conversation we can have with you. Rudy, what did your mother have to say about what happened on Sunday?
Well, as most of the public knows, my mother left the COP a while ago after contesting leadership election.
Right.
And she didn't leave right after. She tried to stay and help. But again, some of the same issues were coming up and she was being blocked. For a while now, she has been saying to me that as a young person, I should remove myself from a negative space. She never asked me to join her party.
Okay.
But when she heard what happened, because I had to say to my mother what happened, she really was also very emotional.
Wow,
I mean,
that is very hurtful though.
It was.
We have another caller on the line. Good evening.
Hello, good night.
Good evening.
Good night,
Welcome
good
to Ballot Box.
Hi, good night. I think we're making a mistake here. We're putting our self-interest before the interest of our nation. Because the main thing is to stand up for young people, is to stand up with the administration that has been working for the young people. And these two individuals have shown no loyalty to any party. And when you cannot show loyalty to any entity or institution, how can you stand up with the people who are in need? Right? We just heard this young man speaking about his mom's emotions. What about the emotions of the people who are being served for the first time in years? These are issues that youth should stand up for. They should stand with the poor. They should stand with people who are without food and water. And these are things that the current youth groups in the current parties have been doing. In the People's Partnership, the Youth in a Mission, the UNC Youth Arm. So I think it's very hypocritical of these two youth to come here tonight to just criticize when they have not even been part of the solution. We have seen one youth jump from party to party as if it's an Olympic race. So I think it's very hypocritical, the things they are talking tonight.
Well, thank you very much for your comment, caller. Please, address the situation.
I don't want to preempt the matter. I just want to say that
I think you should.
I am loyal to Trinidad and Tobago. No acronym, Gabriella, is going to take precedence over my country. And that type of old political paradigm about being loyal to an acronym, as a young person, if other young people want to go down that road, the only acronym I know is TNT.
That's right.
That is the question that we had also tonight. Do you think that youths are being respected in the party? And from what I'm understanding...
And then that brings us back to the question that the guy asked before, what it is, I think if we're being critical and
emulating.
But another question that brings to my mind is that if the leaders of the parties and the elders of the parties are not respecting the youth, then should we really support people like that? Because that is really not building values.
That's what I'm asking. You're
Trinidad
saying that we're supposed to sit there and no matter what happens, we're supposed to sit and take it because we have come from one party into the next and then we decide, okay, well, we already left that party and we come here, so we need to take whatever it is that is leveled against us. No. That's it. No matter how long it takes you, and no matter what you have to do it for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago. You have to do
and
that.
The future of Trinidad.
And that's what sacrifice is. And that is what makes a good leader.
Well, I must say we come to the end of our program. Unfortunately, I think we need to talk to our producers for another hour. But we're going to have our last comment from each of you, please. Rudy, go first.
Really? Sorry?
Okay,
I want to, especially to the last caller, let me just end by saying that, and the previous caller as well, it's not about being disrespectful. It's not about being critical. It's about constructive criticism and being able to voice those opinions that you have for the betterment of the youth of the country respectfully. And no matter what you believe in, you should stand for that. And you should not give up because everybody is going left and you want to go left as well. If you think that the correct direction is right, you make that decision to stand for that. You stand for something or you fall for anything. So I believe that that's what the youth of Trinidad and Tobago must do. Never give up.
Rudy, let's hear from you.
Briefly, I just want to say that, yes, governments have come and governments have gone and they have delivered. But Gabriella, Vimala, we should not settle for basic delivery and mediocrity. I want an innovative Trinidad and Tobago. I want my country to step boldly forward into the new century.
Yeah.
And I want us to move away from box drains and food cards and hampers and welfare programs.
Yeah.
I am fed up of people my age being, forced into lives of crime because of the prevailing governance structure. And I will continue to fight with that. And tonight, I think I have a partner in that in Vermala, and I really am happy to have met you.
And I'm thankful to you, Gabby, as well, for bringing me here to meet Rudy as well.
I'm thinking what you would pick. Maybe you should form your political party and start a new movement. But again, we've come to the end of our show. If there are any specific topics you would like to participate in, or you just want to give us some feedback on the show, please drop us a line with your suggestions or comments, either by writing to us on Facebook or via our email address, ballotboxtt@gmail.com. I'd like to personally thank Vermala and Rudy. It was a pleasure having you on here. I hope in the future we can probably get you all back on the program. I'd like to thank our viewers, and we'd also like to thank our sponsors as well as our Ballot Box team. Trinidad and Tobago, have a great evening, and see you next week Thursday from 9 p.m. right here on WINTV. Good night.